Hey everybody, welcome back to the show. I'm Ryan,
Yeah, I bet.
and this is the podcast where we play Commander, where jank is our policy, and we only have one rule.
No experts allowed.
With minimal audio issues, which is pretty great. We've been here for like 2 hours trying to sort out this fucking audio. It's been so awful. I promise I'm a professional, sort of. Anyway.
Well, you have to leave.
Shut up, okay? All right, kids. Well, welcome to the shit show. We're back with another episode with hopefully improved audio sound, and it's going to be great. This is going to get better as time goes on, I promise. But for now, we are going to be talking all things Universes Beyond, because we are a casual funsies kind of Commander setup where we want to really just kind of have fun with what we see on there. And one of the newest things that Wizards has done to be able to kind of bring in a wider audience that they started doing, like I think their big success story really was like Lord of the Rings was where they did it. And they brought in Universes Beyond, where they take IP from a bunch of different places and they try to kind of include everybody in on the process and include everybody in on the, the kind of being part of Magic. I don't know what the fuck I'm saying.
I get what you're talking about.
But like realistically, like it's just like, hey, what if this was in Magic? That would be pretty cool. They've had a lot of really successful ones. They've had a lot of really not so successful ones. But we are gonna kind of talk about what we think about the Universes Beyond sets and kind of what we kind of hope for the future of Universes Beyond, because that seems to be the going trend with the dropping of the SpongeBob secret lair, whatever the fuck that was. I want to get Gary the Toxrill in though. I want to get Gary Toxrill so fucking bad. Just because I want to build
Just
that deck
so
and just be like, and anytime I put him on the field, I get to do that, and it's going to be wonderful. Anyway,
it'd be funnier if you just never played him.
Yeah,
just had him there because you wanted to have a Gary.
Just want to have a Gary, and I'm just like, nope, he's just going to live in my binder forever, and that's all he's ever going to be. And that's fine.
No, he's the commander of your commander deck. He just never gets played.
He's just there.
You can't hurt him if I don't play him.
How are you playing mono black stacks and not playing Toxrill? I have a rule. No
Dimir stacks.
Dimir stacks with no Toxrill. I have a rule. I don't play Toxrill. I'm making a statement.
I'm a better person.
I can win with 99 cards, not 100. I don't fucking need them.
But I love the artwork.
Yeah, I love the cute little artwork of him. It's super fun. The only one that I really do enjoy out of that specific set, they had a release of the Counterspell. We'll put Counterspell here. But there was a version of it that I saw that has counter target spell, but when they put it up on the internet, it's like lowercase c, capital O, and they did that all the way around. So that way it was like counter spell, or whatever. And that was pretty funny. I thought that was pretty funny. Gary's pretty funny, but the rest of it, I'm just so fucking horrified by it. But here we are. It happened. And people went gangbusters over it. Oh, God. So what are your feelings on the Universes Beyond? Not specifically SpongeBob, but anything on. It's not like we have 4 videos of you playing various Lord of the Rings Universes Beyond sets at all. Like, we're definitely not a type person.
I have the most mixed feelings on Universes Beyond.
Really? Like, with you liking Lord of the Rings as much, I figured you'd be like, fuck yeah, I'm in for it. Let's go.
I am a huge Lord of the Rings fan. In fact, I went out of my way to make sure I have at least one of every Lord of the Rings card in my collection. But I'm also the guy who went out of his way to purchase and have a collection of like everything from Lord of the Rings models to movie props to just the Times magazine, because why the fuck not?
Bro goes hard. Bro goes hard in the paint for Lord of the Rings.
I like Lord of the Rings a lot. The reason I have very mixed feelings is because on the one hand, I get it. Like everyone likes to see their fandom in Magic. And in some cases, sometimes it really just does feel like a personal, like, almost feeling of what fits and what doesn't. And that's where the problem comes in.
Okay.
Because on the one hand, like, I feel like Jurassic Park kind of works. And I have to stress the kind of part because, like, all the dinosaur stuff works because we already have dinosaur stuff. So it works for that reason. But then, like, the Alan and Ellie artwork doesn't really fit, but mechanically at least it's interesting. Same with Ian Malcolm. Wu, I do not even know how I would build a deck around that, even though I like very much would love to. But like they're so modernistic that it doesn't feel like they fit. And then all the dinosaur stuff only fits because we already have dinosaur cards. In fact, dinosaurs became a really big subtype lately, so it's just that's why they kind of work. But Lord of the Rings feels like it fits because it's fantasy.
Yeah,
and like
it's not just fantasy; it's high fantasy. You know, it's like it's kind of the bread and butter of where magic started.
Exactly, and it's just like and like even like just Dungeons and Dragons heavily inspired by Lord of the Rings and stuff like it. So we're just it's one of those things where it's like, what is your line of when it stops feeling like magic? And I feel like that's the problem we're running in. Is part of the problem, but I think the bigger issue for me is the trend I've seen that it feels like I'm afraid that because of licensing and the fact that they need to sell these, that it's going to start a little arms race. And also they're going to start putting Universe Beyond the standard. And so that might not sound like a big deal, because especially since now Commander is the biggest format of Magic. But here's why this matters. As someone who used to play Modern back in the day, back when Modern was still tamer, but like the game was usually over between turns 3 to 6, which nowadays Modern can end on turn 1. But still, like, it's a pretty quick the games go by usually fairly quickly. The thing about Modern was you could only play the best of the best cards from every set. Nowadays, I've watched videos of people play standard decks from now versus what would have been considered the top Modern decks of when I played Modern, and this was like a decade ago. And it's not just that they keep up, they consistently can beat them. And so Standard has already kind of reaching that point. And power creep is like a mixture of inevitable, but like still you do have control over it. Like, because especially in Magic, where everything is so mechanically, there's so many unique mechanics that it's like Magic you will still find interesting ways to print new Magic sets, so long as like you at least have an imagination inside your head. Imagination.
Since we're already talking about some
so like there's that's where I think Magic has the advantage of like, where's your excuse for making things get a bit out of hand? And that is part of the reason I'm worried though, is because the whole licensing thing with like, I'm just going to use like Assassin's Creed is the perfect example. They just didn't sell well. No. And people bought the packs for like, I think it was like maybe 2 or 3 cards. But I know there was like one card in particular, Excalibur, that is like the chase card. The premier card. And it's the only, and I think, I would have to go back. It might have changed by this point. But last I had checked, the only card worth more than a pack was Excalibur. And that's the sign of a set that has quote unquote problems, is when the most expensive card
doesn't even pay for the pack.
The most expensive card can pay for the pack, but everything else is less than the cost of the pack. Again, it might not sound like a big deal, but at that point, why wouldn't I just pay 50 cents for buy a single? And it also just ruins the excitement of opening them. Yeah. Like when everything is like, this isn't even worth the cardboard it's printed on.
You're just kind of like gone. Great.
And the thing is, Assassin's Creed has plenty of interesting cards that you could play around. Specifically, I think it's Archimedes is the like most. Yeah. I would play him as a commander. I would find him incredibly interesting. I think it's weird he's not the more expensive and more played. But I think it's like, I also think Wizards of the Coast might have overestimated just how many people wanted Assassin's Creed cards.
It's possible.
Nothing against anyone who loves Assassin's Creed, but like that's not one of the games where I hear people going, "Oh my god, this is the best." Like, it's not Halo. I'm sorry, it's insert game that like almost every guy between the ages of 20 and 40 is a fan of.
Yeah,
it's not that game. It is niche, whether you like it or not.
Yeah,
they sell well. They are the fast food of video games. It's as simple as that. And there's nothing wrong with that, but it is what they essentially are. I don't know. And because of that, like, are they going to be incentivized to print more and more and more powerful cards to get people to buy those packs because they now have that whole licensing fee thing to deal with? Essentially, I'm afraid that they've kind of they're making almost a Faustian deal here, and it's either going to go real well or real great for them. And I know we talked about on the channel before how it's like Magic nearly killed itself when they had a power creep problem.
Yeah.
And this was, I played that whole format I was talking about was a decade ago. This was like 2 decades ago. So it's like, it's been a long time, and it's like, we might have forgotten our lesson. But there's also the question of, I could be very wrong. Maybe people will be okay with things reaching that point, but there will definitely be people who fall off.
Right.
And I guess that's what it comes down to is we'll have to see what happens. But that's where my fear is. But there's also then just the fact that it's like, at a certain point, it's just going to be weird seeing certain things in Magic.
Yeah, I've heard that a lot. The phrase that I've heard a lot on the greater interwebs, Reddit, TikTok, Facebook, the whole fucking 9 yards of it, is that like they're calling it the Fortniteification of Magic.
I've heard that one too.
So like the fact that everything's allowed, you know, like Master Chief can fight next to Peter Griffin with an energy sword from Halo.
With Gary.
And Gary the Snail is on his back as a backpack, right? Like, it's all fucking wildly weird stuff. And it's just like, hey, you know, this is all just going to be allowed because Wizards prints it and they said so. And I don't necessarily think that that's wrong. It's their IP, it's their business. But also, it's more than a little weird that they're going to want to go that far with it. Like, if you start really thinking about, like, you know, all the stuff that they have brought in and brought into the fold of the Magic the Gathering kind of IP, and you start seeing weird stuff where you're starting to see, like, you know, Ezio fighting against, you know, Mario, yeah, like having SpongeBob be Joe the Grand Unifier, who's going to be fighting against Gandalf the White. Like, it doesn't seem wrong on the surface, but at its deepest level, Magic had its own lore for a really long time. And they stuck to that lore. They stuck to that lore super hard. And I know that a lot of people, and I might be included in them, I don't know, I kind of have mixed feelings as well. But like, I might be one of those people who's like, just make your own IP, dude.
Have faith in your own product.
But then again, War for the Spark was kind of a shit show. Like, when they kept with their own IP and they're like, oh, let's just make everyone a Planeswalker. And then they're like, wow, that's a lot to keep track of. Let's go ahead and cut everyone's sparks off. And so they're going back and forth on their own IP, which isn't necessarily wrong. It's their IP to fuck up. But, like, realistically speaking, when it comes to, like, your diehards, the guys who have been there since day one, they want Magic lore. They don't want necessarily to have a SpongeBob theme. They didn't even necessarily want to have Lord of the Rings as part of it. Lord of the Rings does fit. However, it didn't feel like it was part of it at the time.
It meshed well enough.
Yeah.
But even for me, I actually was not going to buy them at first because I was like, but it's not Magic.
Right.
It's Lord of the Rings.
If Lord of the Rings is going to have its own fucking card game, let it have its own card game.
And I was just like, but eventually I was like, you know what? There's some mechanically interesting stuff. I like playing with my friends. Screw it. And I think that's what ultimately got me over. And the variety was enough to like finally be like, you know what? They put the work clearly into this.
Yeah.
Like, I can build entire commander decks.
Yeah.
100% Lord of the Rings commander decks with mechanically unique cards.
Right. And you can add some things from your standard game, like stuff like Negate, stuff like Arcane Signet, stuff like that in there. And it doesn't feel like it's out of place. But my biggest concern, I think, coming from the Universes Beyond is like, when is it going to stop?
Well, we now know that half of the releases every year are going to be Universes Beyond now.
And that's the thing that worries me.
That's where it's like, okay, Now, like when it was once a year, it was like, yeah, it'll be neat for the people who care about it.
Yeah.
But now we opened a box.
Yeah, we opened a box and now we're doing it. However, like some of the new Universes Beyond stuff, I am very intrigued. Like the new what's it called? The new Final Fantasy series is going to be coming out. It's going to be standard legal. So I think it's going to be the first standard legal Universes Beyond set.
Mhm.
And that one looks really interesting. Like you've got Titus, you've got Sephiroth, you've got Cloud, you've got all of your big characters that you like and that are mechanically unique, and they still kind of fit, but mostly because of the nostalgia for me. I'm like, ooh, cool, Final Fantasy, let's do it.
I think the most disappointing part for the Final Fantasy stuff that I've seen so far is the fact that I actually like they are mechanically unique in that nothing else has their rules, but they are mechanics we've seen before. Like they've already started talking about some of them. I forget the one who makes it obsolete, but there was a Dragons of Tarkir card, Alesha who smiles at death, and she was considered a strong commander card, and now she's essentially she's going to be made irrelevant with literally the exact same colors. It's just the colors you spend to cast her are Mardu instead of Mardu being in her abilities.
Right.
But the bottom line is it does what she does, but better.
Right.
It's like one better it's like bring something back from a recursion that's one mana cost better.
Yeah.
But that's like, okay, but this was already a great commander and commander card.
Yeah.
And you've now made her obsolete.
You made her functionally obsolete.
You made her functionally obsolete by essentially putting someone else out there who is all the same ability, all the same stats. Only difference in mana cost is you actually have to pay Mardu to cast her, not just Mardu to use the ability. But you've buffed her one ability that Alesha had by one, functionally making that other card just... And it's like, you are mechanically unique, but you're also kind of not. Like, Cloud is the same way. Yeah. He's just like, look, again, a decade ago, I loved seeing, like, the first equipment commander, like, equipment commander was a planeswalker.
Right.
The first Nahiri card. Now we have everything. We have so many commanders that are specifically commander card, like care about equipment, and so it's like having Cloud be like equipment again is like, could you have done something neater? Like in fact, we even have a Gruul equipment commander. Like, okay, yeah. I wanted to see something like.
Yeah.
Like, even if it was just like, you can still make him equipment-esque, but like, have him come into play and you get to choose one of 4 legendary sword cards that pops into play, and like, you get a unique effect off of it.
Right.
And for those unique swords, don't include all that text on that card because that would be a nightmare, but like, it's a commander deck. So you're already including tokens. Wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. I can read everything the sword does on the printed token.
Yeah.
You just have to name the token that's being generated.
Exactly.
And that is where I'm kind of like, you guys got a little bit lazy with this. And I haven't seen all this. And then there's the freaking cactus. Yeah. Everyone's talking about.
Oh, the jumbo cactuar.
We're so late to the party talking about that one. I think everyone has a little bit of truth and to what they're saying. Is it going to be competitively viable? Probably, definitely not. It just it doesn't have haste, and at that mana cost, if you have that much mana to like also have haste enablers and everything, you should probably already be convoying off. That being said, there's no casual table that is going to see that card and not instantly have problems.
Oh, say it'd be great if that was your whole strategy. If your whole strategy was make cactus and spin cactus and hurt everyone. Okay, cool. That's a really one-dimensional way to win, but cool, good for you. You know, you can do that. It's your business. But like try to say like, oh yeah, that's going to see competitive play. That's going to be a high power EDH. No, it's not.
There are cards.
No, it's not.
There are cards that are like in the worst kind of position because they will always be hated at casual play, and they will never be good enough for competitive play, and there will never be an in between.
Yep. But I'm all about jank, so I'm gonna do it anyway. But yeah, like the new Universes Beyond stuff is pretty cool, and the one that I think I am the most excited. I don't want to say that I'm hyped for it, but like I'm pretty excited about is Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Really?
That's coming out at the end of this year, and I'm not gonna lie, I'm a little bit pumped about it. Like, not like super hype. I'm not like, holy crap, I'm gonna buy all of this. Like, I'm right now, like, time of recording, I'm going to a pre-release for Dragons of Tarkir on Saturday, and I am fucking pumped. I am all hype for the Dragons of Tarkir set, Dragon Storm. Holy shit, I'm so excited. Anyway, so I'm super hyped for that. For this, I'm like medium, like medium hype, because it's gonna have all of the great things about Avatar that I really enjoy. Is like that kind of, like, again, that fantasy model where it's like, hey, random people throw their hands around and elements go around, and it's great and it's awesome and it's high fantasy sort of. It's like lowbrow fantasy, really. Let's be honest. And if Sokka is not a fucking commander, I'm gonna be so pissed, so pissed. And also, do not.
He's gonna be an equipment commander.
Wizards, do not fuck with me about Uncle Iroh. Do not fuck with me with Uncle Iroh. If you do an Uncle Iroh thing and he has a special thing that's leaves on the vine, I'm gonna fucking weep.
I hope to God he's not. You know what? They need to just make him a mono white card.
God, that would be so great.
Not Boros. No, don't do it. Mono
never,
white.
No, he's mono white because he is the White Lotus. He's part of the White Lotus, so he should be mono white. Take notes, Wizards. Get a nerd in there who knows some shit about Avatar, okay? Don't do some fucked up shit.
I haven't heard anyone be able to give me an appropriate response to this. How are they going to incorporate mono black into this?
That's the thing. I don't think that mono black is going to be a thing in that set. I really don't. I think that mono black is going to be part of like what would be considered an evil setup. So you're talking like your Fire Nation BS. So Fire Nation BS is probably going to be like Rakdos or Mardu or something like that.
Or they'll give mono black cards to the Fire Nation.
Exactly.
But they won't. It'll like the color scheme for the Fire Nation is going to be mono black.
It's gonna be very. I feel like it's gonna be very Warhammer 40k. When the Warhammer 40k stuff set up, they're like, oh, here are the colors for the specific factions, and a lot of the guys who play 40k, me included, thought, oh wait, those colors don't go with these factions. This feels weird. I don't like.
But
this.
then we saw it.
But then we saw it
and played it.
We saw the way that it functioned, and we were like, okay, yeah, that makes sense. Like the Forces of Chaos being Grixis, 100% makes sense. Esper being for the Forces of the Imperium made sense. Tyranids being in Teamer cards made sense. A lot of it made a lot of sense, and initially it didn't make a ton of sense, but when we finally got the cards in hand and started playing them, then it started to make more sense. So I feel like Avatar's going to be very similar in that way.
But you see, here's the problem with that. It's going to have actual packs.
Yes.
And they have to represent... I get that not every set represents every color equally, but they have to represent things like mono black on their own.
I know.
And another hard one to do, mono green.
Yeah, that's going to be...
And I've heard people be like, oh, well... spirits. I'm like, are there really that many spirits you give a shit about in this game or in this series? Because I'll be honest, didn't really watch Legends of Korra, but I watched a lot.
You didn't miss much.
I watched a lot of the original Avatar: The Airbender. I've seen the series through multiple times, and like, I'm sorry, but like, I can think of maybe 2 spirits to include, and then for mono green, I'd be like, okay, yeah, include your swamp people. I think that's 3 characters.
Yeah, there's a few characters in there, but realistically speaking, what I'm thinking is probably going to happen is they're going to have to really think about what exactly the set is going to entail, what it's going to include. This one is not specifically, I don't believe it's going to be specifically for a commander. Don't quote me on that. But as far as I know, it's just going to be a Commander Universes Beyond thing. It's going to be right before Christmas, and is when they're going to release it.
So you think there's not going to be packs?
I don't think that it's going to have like play boosters. Collector boosters, 100%. Like there are gonna be collector boosters for that. Because if there is not a what's it called, a serialized Uncle Iroh or Avatar or Aang the Avatar,
what would you serialize for that set? Actually,
I mean, obviously Avatar, Aang, the big 4 are gonna be the ones like Avatar, Aang, not Korra,
Toph.
Fuck Korra, Toph, Sokka, and Katara. Katara, love you, bae. And you have all 4 of them, so they're probably going to have a serialized one. You could probably do one for Uncle Iroh, obviously, because he's the GOAT. You can do one for Sozin if you wanted to. You could do one for Appa or Momo or whatever. But the one that I think that I would want the most would probably be like, I don't necessarily say serialized. I'm moving away from serialized here. I want to see
Alternate art.
not alternate art. I want to see temples, like the air temple, like the northern, southern, western, and eastern air temples.
Okay.
I would love to see them be like a run of lands. And then like the fire temples, I would love to have those be a set of lands, and the earth temples, and like the earth kingdom, the city of not Bossing Say, but Boomies town. Where was that?
Oh. I know the one you're talking about.
No.
You would love to see lands.
I would love to see the lands like the
eastern and southern water, or southern and northern water.
Yeah, southern and northern water tribes. I want to see the tribes, the big cities, be immortalized as lands, even if they're reprints. I don't fucking care. I think that would be cool as shit. I think it would be cool as shit. And so, like for that one, I'm like, all right, medium hype. I could see it happen, but I can see it now. They're like, this is a great one. We've had a great response. Everybody's doing great. Let's go ham. And they fuck it up. And I just don't want them to fuck it up. I really don't want them to fuck it up.
Gotcha.
But because it's one of those things that's like a near and dear thing to my heart. Like I don't have it yet, but I'm going to get an Earth Kingdom tattoo eventually. Like it's going to be a part of my seal. I'll show you guys that in a different video. But like realistically speaking, I want to see the set done right. And one of the things that we worry about, which is one of the things that I think we see a lot in Universes Beyond, either they're incredibly successful or they are total fucking dog water. Like there is no in between at all. I can't think of a Universes Beyond set to date that hasn't either done incredibly well or done horribly bad. Well, no, that's not true. Doctor Who was kind of in the middle. Doctor Who was okay, and it's got some unique
Doctor
mechanics.
Who was the most in the middle,
yeah.
And I think most people who didn't know about Doctor Who got it because the decks and cards were kind of unique.
Yeah,
but they were also the most funky, hard to follow. Like
they really were.
Like mechanically, you can't not pay attention when a Doctor Who deck is on the board.
Absolutely, timey-wimey is the perfect example of that. With time counters going up and down and different cards doing different things when time counters are higher or when time counters are lower and all this other stuff. It's a mind fuck.
If you're an aggro player, just go straight for that person's throat.
Just punch that person in the face repeatedly
until you or them are out of the game.
Like, or tell them to get the timey-wimey fuck out of here. Like, I don't have timey-wimey for you.
Kind of like if you're a mono red deck and someone plays a Rhystic Study, you just punch the Rhystic Study player.
Yeah, punch the Rhystic Study as hard as you can. Anyway, the Universes Beyond is one of those things that like I said, I have mixed feelings on because they either do incredibly well, like Lord of the Rings, one of the most successful franchises, so much that they did a second release for Secret Lair with the Christmas release packs. Mm-hmm. That had all the cool extra stuff and all the cool extra printings. And I thought that was really great. And those ones did really well. I think Warhammer did moderately well.
Warhammer did really well. The Warhammer was the first Universes Beyond that was a full release, not just like random.
Yeah, exactly.
It wasn't not a Secret Lair or not Godzilla would be the first Universes Beyond.
Right.
And it was alternate prints.
But like generally speaking, I think Warhammer did well. I think Lord of the Rings did well. Assassin's Creed totally fucking flopped. Like it was not.
You could buy packs for cheaper than normal packs.
I know you could buy. I remember I saw at I don't remember where it was, but I was in a gas station somewhere and I saw Universes Beyond Assassin's Creed cards in packs for $2.95 a pack.
It was like $3.
And the whole thing was still full. Like nobody touched it. I didn't buy any because again, I don't have any skin in that game. I don't care too heavily about Assassin's Creed. Like some of it was cool. I watched my brother play the games. I never played the games myself. But like it was okay. You know, it wasn't bad. I can't think of the other Universes Beyond ones right now, right off the top of my head.
So there was Doctor Who, Lord of the Rings,
Doctor Who did
Assassin's Creed, Jurassic Park if you count the possible pulls from packs.
And that was kind of dog water.
I liked it.
The thing is, like overall,
I'm also a big Jurassic Park fan.
I was gonna say, outside of your bias, I think it was kind of dog water.
I thought it sold well though.
It
was an Ixalan set. It sold well.
Well, yeah, if it was an Ixalan, yeah, it sold well no matter what. But I think that it was.
It was the dinosaur plane. Of course, it sold well.
It just kind of, I felt like it fell flat. Like I felt like that some of the cards were, mechanically very unique, art wise, absolutely stunning, but like realistically, as far as like the way that they were kind of perceived, like when you get them in a package, just kind of like, oh,
Are you sure? Because I don't think there was a single person who didn't open one of those.
I was definitely one of those people.
You opened one and got one?
I opened Ixalan. I opened.
And you got a Jurassic Park card.
And I got a few Jurassic Park cards. So
Okay.
I'm just kind of like, okay. I don't necessarily care for it. But again, that's a perception thing.
I'll take
maybe.
them off your hands.
Yeah, oh, I know. Oh, I know. I know you will. But like realistically speaking, when people were buying Ixalan, were they buying it for the Jurassic Park cards or were they buying it for that fucking Manival?
I mean, yes and no.
They were buying it mostly for the Manival.
I mean, everyone's going to want a chase card, but like a lot of times, I feel like there has to be more than one card you want in packs for it to sell well. Because if the logic was valid there, then the Assassin's Creed would have sold out the wazoo because Excalibur.
Well,
it was literally built for Commander practically.
Yeah, it was built for Commander, but also Mox, or not Mox, wow. Manivault is like a $150 card at the time. And even Excalibur at its peak was like $12. So like it wasn't necessarily like wrong.
Yeah, but most people aren't going to buy a pack for the rare like just because there's that one chance they might get that one card.
Well, that's the way I buy packs.
Buy singles at that point.
No, I have a problem.
Help! It'll be good for your wallet.
No, can't make me. But no, I think again there's some that did really, really well and a bunch that did really not so well. But like my fear for Universes Beyond going forward is that possibility of it being like, oh, this could be total balls. And I don't want it to be total balls. Especially because when it's IP that you care about. So stuff like Final Fantasy, I grew up playing Final Fantasy. That shit is like right on par with me. So I've played with Cloud and Sephiroth and Titus and all of those characters that are in those games. And I loved playing with those characters. But outside of that, like, there's no way of knowing. Again, Jumbo Cactuar being a perfect example. They could have done so well with it, and then they threw that in, and you're like, why? Why that?
I only care because I would love to play a Sephiroth deck where I'm just the most emo guy there.
Yeah.
I want to flip my non-existent hair.
Well, no, I'll get you a full-blown wig, and I'll make you play a whole game with it.
And you better believe I'm gonna like have players just like at the brink of losing, and I'll just tell them on your knees, I want you to beg for forgiveness.
That's gonna be so fucking bad.
It's gonna be the cringe.
He's gonna do it. Is the problem? He's gonna do it. But
I'm gonna love it. I'm gonna be the most evil Magic player on the planet for the sake of saying one-liners.
Just for the sake of one-liners. This is why we need to immortalize it on YouTube so you can never do it again.
Oh, that means I have to rebuild Gandalf. Where
anyway.
all I say is Gandalf quotes.
Yep.
The entire game.
But yeah.
Flex on all you nerds.
Yeah. But like Universes Beyond stuff is just like, my feeling is I'm kind of medium on it. Like, because it could be really good or it could be really bad. And I think that generally speaking, they're not the wrong thing. I just think that, like what you were saying before, when it was once a year, it's like, I can get on board with that.
Yeah,
I could do that. And it's like do it as a full.
But it is
release,
Magic
you know?
now.
But Universes Beyond is Magic, and Magic is Universes Beyond now, and it's just kind of like, well, fuck.
We'll see how this. I guess we'll see how this goes.
Yeah, I guess we'll see how it goes and see if I get into any IP that I enjoy.
I will say this: the one thing that gives me hope is I have a consistent group. So there might be stuff in that. There might be those little gems that look fun that you would normally never do because someone might have just a deck that might not be like CEDH, but like they tuned it up with some really strong powerhouse cards.
Right.
And you're like, I'll just never be able to keep up, so I guess I won't play this deck ever. But like because we're doing that, it's gonna allow us to like hell, literally the last 2 games we recorded, which we won't spoil it for you guys. But they were a mixture. They were fun. But they definitely would have never worked if someone had like come to win,
right? Because
we were all kind of just struggling,
just kind of flopping around. I'm like, I really hope I can get enough land to do this.
That whole game where the one person with land couldn't do anything with it, and the rest of us.
I gotta ask because I'm only part of one of these games. Was in the other game? Was it Trevor still? Yeah, I was gonna say, was it Trevor?
It was the
'Cause if
mono.
it was Trevor both
It was
games.
the mono green player.
I was like, because if it was Trevor both games, I was gonna be like, well, that tracks.
The
Yeah,
mono
okay.
green player was just like, I got a few things I can do, and then like every time would get just like meh.
so
Something
you
would
just,
happen
like-
to ruin it.
So you just like house him down into the ground.
I never got above 3 mana that entire game,
Woof.
and I was the winner.
God.
For context,
That's wild. That is fucking wild. Holy crap. Okay. Well, anyway.
Yeah. Anyways, but yeah, that's my hope / the only thing keeping me on board at this point, because I am worried that it's just going to reach. I'm sorry. Anyone can build. I have played competitive Magic. I'm not bragging. I'm just saying I have. And at the end of the day, anyone can build and pay for a powerful deck and just slam it on the table and be like, yeah, look how big brain I am. It's like, no, you're hardly the first person to come up with this.
Yeah, you're definitely not unique. Sorry.
And it just, that's where Magic gets boring to me.
Mhm.
Is I played that phase where I got to go to an event and I faced the same deck like 8 times. And at a certain point, it's just, and I played the same deck 8 times.
Right, yeah.
And it's like, the reason Commander's fun is because I get to do weird, janky shit like you enjoy doing. I am an aggro player at heart, so I still pull that kind of shenanigans. But like, I like to do interesting, dumb things that I can't normally do in other formats, and that's where the fun is at. And Universe Beyond, I hope, enhances that without becoming a problem.
Yeah.
That's my final thought.
Yeah, I can't disagree with you. Again, I want to see what Universes Beyond can do, but I don't necessarily care to have Universes Beyond be the every other set thing that it's fixing to be. Because I mean, right now we're still kind of in the midst of coming down from Aether Drift and going back up to Tarkir Dragonstorm, and then the next Universes Beyond thing is gonna be Final Fantasy. So realistically, like, it's gonna happen, but this to have more and then suddenly have Avatar, it is just like, I want it so much, but I also would love to have faith in the fact that Magic, that Wizards of the Coast could say, hey, maybe we take a little time and curate this set a little more. Mm-hmm. Really dig into it. Find the really crunchy nerds, the nerds that are like super into that IP, and let them kind of guide your hand a little to see, like, okay, these are the kinds of things that people want to see. These are the kinds of lore that they want referenced in these cards, like even in the flavor text. Like, be thoughtful, because with Lord of the Rings, that's one of the parts that I really found the most thoughtful was in the Lord of the Rings cards. They put a lot of quotes from the books, the stuff that's not in the movies, but stuff that's like from the books and from the Silmarillion. If you guys have read that, like there was good, solid flavor text on all of your dudes. So even the most base card where you're like, this sucks. If you're a Lord of the Rings nerd and you read it and it's from the Silmarillion, you read so hard. You're like, oh my god, they understand me, and it's. I want them to take that kind of care, and I want them to curate a set that's going to do really, really well, and really be thoughtful and kind of contemplative in the way that they build the set. But again, their prerogative is, hey, I want to do 2 Universes Beyond a year, so we're going to do that. And I'm like, okay.
I think we're at 3 or 4 a year now.
Oh God, I don't know.
I
don't know how
the release it. So this is one thing that is both mentally and just everything draining on me currently is we're getting essentially a release of Magic of some kind every month now.
It feels like it, yeah.
It's either every month or every 2. I'm pretty sure we're up to like every month.
It feels like every month, yeah.
And it's I'm sorry, it's a bit much.
It's getting to be a bit much.
Also, we got spoilers for Final Fantasy before we got spoilers for the set, the pre-releases for this weekend.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Like, calm down. Seriously.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sorry. Like, they're already putting Final Fantasy stuff on pre-order.
Yeah.
It's not even available for pre-order from Wizards yet, and people are still putting on websites for pre-order. Like, you can go pre-order Final Fantasy stuff on Amazon.
Yep.
You couldn't pre-order it from you wouldn't be able to pre-order it from Wizards of the Coast right now.
Nope.
So also, I'm sorry, you're selling the Sephiroth from the dual like get these decks to learn how to play Magic with your friends for $40.
Yeah,
the two decks are gonna sell for like $30.
Yeah.
What? No, stop. You can't even, and there's no way you can guarantee that you're gonna have all those in stock.
Right. Yeah. You can't really even like say with certainty, oh yeah, I'm gonna have X number of this, or I'm gonna have X number of that. Like, are you seriously just gonna rip product until you have those things? Is that what your plan is? Because that's a dumb plan.
Or are you going to have to give all these people their money back? Like, what's the deal here? The Cactar is already on pre-order and is pre-ordered for an insane
like TCG Player.
Cost.
I think there are a bunch of different places on TCG Player. They're like, oh yeah, we only have 1 or 2 in stock, but you can pre-order it. And I'm like,
you don't have any in stock.
You don't have any in stock. The stock doesn't even exist. I'm pretty sure they're not even printed yet. Like, I'm almost 95%.
I'm sure printing has started at this point. Production has started, but it's irrelevant. You don't have them. I'm sorry, you don't.
Yeah, it'd be different.
Packs do not exist in your store. If you tell me they do, you are full of shit. Give me proof. For 2 reasons. A, I don't believe you. And B, it's going to be real funny when Wizards of the Coast pulls like any deals they have for you for doing that stupid thing.
Dude, God, that'd be so
because you know that you're breaking a contract at that point.
Yeah, you know for a fact that there's some kind of breach of contract.
You cannot prove me wrong and not break your contract.
Right.
So get fucked.
Well, that aside, since Universes Beyond is kind of in our future, it's
a part of the future.
We don't really have a say in it at this point. What are some places you would like to see come out of Universes Beyond? Because I've been very happy with the stuff that's happened, like Warhammer 40K, Final Fantasy, Avatar: The Last Airbender. I've been hitting it pretty good on the last few bits, and I love Lord of the Rings, so I've been doing pretty well on the Universes Beyond sets, and they're hitting right where I live pretty well. What are the ones that you think that you would want on from you? Because I don't know all of your like favorite little autism things, but like I don't know where your hyperfixations lie.
You could. I feel like you could guess them. But there one that I would be excited for only because me and a few friends just got together and like before we found out the Universe Beyond was just going to be everywhere. This was like 6 months ago. We joked about what we would like to see if a Halo Commander deck series was released.
Yeah,
and we came up with you are allowed to steal this idea, Wizards of the Coast. I won't even care. I won't be mad. The Flood. I want spore counters. I want my not Phyrexians. All hail the great Yawgmoth. And I want to literally steal permanents from people if I get flood spore counters equal to or greater to the mana cost of the non-land permanent. Obviously not lands, that would get busted real quick. But non-land permanents, I want to be able to put counters on them, and if I have as many or more than its mana cost, I get that non-land permanent. I want to play the ultimate theft deck.
That would be pretty interesting.
I want to know that I am just like straight up stealing your entire strategy.
Yeah. Like, that seems pretty good. And again, as a guy who plays Evelyn the Covetous, she like being able to play somebody else's deck for them is honestly kind of fun, but also is the most oppressive thing that you can do at the table.
But a theft deck is never the theft deck is always going to be the right power level is the thing.
That's fair.
You are never more powerful. You are never more powerful, and you can do fun combos you can't normally do because suddenly if you steal from multiple people, you might get a fun little combo that you'll never see again because that situation will never come up again.
Yeah.
And that's where theft decks are good. I'm not asking to do a mass board steal every turn. I understand that's not acceptable.
Yeah.
But I would love to be, even if I'm handing them out in sprinkles here and there, it would still function. And then when you add in things like proliferate. Also, it would be one of the only ways I can think of, especially if like the Gravemind enters play, all opponents' permanents get a spore counter.
Right.
And someone's playing a token deck.
Mm-hmm. Gib, I would love to have all of these things.
And it's just like he would be like, again, one of the biggest weaknesses of a theft deck is token decks because they can usually produce so many token value that it's like you can't steal all of that. But suddenly, this one card in a theft deck is just like,
Yep. I would love this. Thank you.
I will love it forever. Thank you.
Yeah.
Forever is about to end.
Real quick question though, because I just thought about this. Would you prefer if Halo was a thing? Because in my brain, I think of Halo and I'm like, okay, I think of the characters that are there, and more often than not, I think those would do really well as like reskins of cards that already exist in the Magic universe, just with a cool Halo twist. But what you're talking about is something mechanically unique. So
I would want commander decks and no packs.
Okay, that's fair. But would you be incredibly upset if they ended up taking the Halo IP and just reprinting and reskinning a bunch of cards and releasing them like in a special commander deck? Or were you you're hoping for and banking on a mechanically unique kind of flood type deck along with a UNSC and Covenant?
I want it mechanically unique.
Okay.
I want to see something, and it doesn't have to be perfectly mechanically unique, because when we were talking about the Covenant one with our group of friends, shield counters already exist.
Shield counters do exist, yeah.
And it's a one instance of I am indestructible, but you remove my shield counter, so I'm not. However, shield counters can stack.
Yeah. So you can stack up shield counters.
So the Arbiter could have 2 or 3 shield counters on entering play or whatever. Like elites or jackals, like, oh, they get more shield counters because they are that. Plasma could be not poison counters, but like plasma could be wither essentially.
Or plasma could be like, hey, if you shoot somebody with this plasma, like
remove a counter.
A plasma pistol that's overcharged. If you attack a creature that's equipped with this pistol, and you deal damage to them, remove all shield counters they have.
No, I would actually just go. Don't even be that specific, because that would be too. It would be a parasitic gameplay option.
Okay, I guess that's fine.
But what I would do is I would have it so if it has the plasma keyword, it removes, if it deals combat damage to another creature, remove all counters from that creature.
That'd be fun. That'd be actually really interesting.
It wouldn't break anything, but it would provide a unique mechanic that specifically works well against a common mechanic in EDH. Right. So when it doesn't affect someone, it won't be oppressive.
Right.
But when it does affect someone, it will matter.
Yeah.
Suddenly, the person playing the deck, green-white would probably be the deck type I would think of this, or even Naya, is playing that style of deck and has just shitting +1/+1 counters. Suddenly, it's dangerous to get hit by that grunt.
Yeah.
Because it might be a 1/1, but good luck.
I say kill off all my counters? No thanks, I'd rather not.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And then, I would just give out and then I would give weapons to the Covenant and the humans, the equipment, and I would but the main thing I would do for the equipment for both of them is I would have things, again, a mechanic we don't see very often, but we occasionally see on equipment is like tap and it deals damage.
Yeah. And
then it would allow you to use your plasma ability as a way of dealing with a +1/+1 counter thing. And in a human's case, it could be for the UNSC, it would be like the rocket launcher. Actually, now that I think about it, or the sniper rifle would be perfect to have abilities such as if deal 3 damage to target tap, deal your damage, or this creature deals damage equal to its power to target creature. If it has indestructible, it loses indestructible.
Right.
And again, these are mechanics that will work. They're not parasitic. These decks could face other decks and still have fun. And the reason I would like them to just be commander decks is, don't know if anyone else has noticed this, but when they only get a commander deck, these Universes Beyond, those commander decks tend to be a bit above weight class for what a normal precon is.
Right.
Specifically because if you really want to keep it within its own universe, it allows you to still kind of fight at a weight class that is acceptable.
Right.
Because that was like the big issue with like the 40k decks. What I was afraid of was these are going to come out of the tin janky, and then I'm going to have to replace a bunch of cards in my Tyranid deck with non-Tyranid cards. But it plays just fine out of the tin. It's not perfect.
Right.
But it plays just fine out of the tin.
Yeah. So for me, I think the ones that I want to see the most, and this one's a little niche. So if you guys are with me on this one, I'm pretty happy about it. Do you remember the Fable games?
Yes.
The first
I have
Fable.
no idea how you're going to do that.
The first Fable, very high fantasy, lots of weird little stuff that you can go on a sideboard with, but it's also a little goofy. Like, it's a little funky, it's a little weird, but it's also very high fantasy. And I think that it would work really well as a Universes Beyond deck. Only a Universes Beyond set, only because the content of Fable, it spans anywhere from very high fantasy to super revolutionary steampunky kind of setup. Like, that would be really good, really cool in my opinion, mostly because I want there to be a chicken kicking card. only for that. Like, I don't care about Avos Tier. I don't care about any of that other bullcrap. I just want a chicken kicking card, and then I can be happy.
You see, you need secret layers. I feel like here's your only problem with that one. Do you really think we could create 300 mechanically unique cards from Fable things?
See, that's the thing.
Without really reaching to the bottom of that.
You'd really have to reach super hard. Again, I think it would be funny, and again, I think you're right. I think it's probably just going to be like a secret layer drop, some kind of like Universes Beyond secret layer kind of something or other, just with like 5 or 6 cards that are just funny.
Yeah,
and they're fun and they're interesting.
However, Kickin' Chicken needs to be one of those.
Yeah, absolutely, it needs to be one of those. But like, I would love to see something like that. I've heard a lot of people say that they want like Dishonored, the video game Dishonored, to do that. I think that would be a horrible idea because Dishonored wasn't a great game. And quite frankly, I think it would be hard to do.
It'd be Assassin's Creed all over.
Yeah, say it'd be hard to do off the coattails of Assassin's Creed, which had really horrible reviews. But those are really the only two that I can think of right offhand. Because again, my biggest nerddoms right now are things like Marvel and Lord of the Rings and Warhammer 40K and Magic the fucking Gathering. Because that's what I play the most.
And anything that's Disney is probably not going to get anything.
Disney's not going to do it. That's the reason why
the fact that we're getting Marvel is
already enough.
But anything that is animated Disney, just right off the bat, Lorcana exists now. They're never going to share profits.
They're never going to let that.
And I heard there was a Star Wars card game that's becoming popular.
Limited. Yeah, apparently it's supposed to be pretty cool.
And so we're not going to see anything Star Wars, sadly. So, but that does eliminate a lot of IP options.
Yeah, there's a lot of really big IP options. I think it's ultimately they're going to start settling into a thing where they find little niche things that would be really fun.
Mm-hmm.
And then they'll just kind of start to do those. And I think that's pretty okay.
I do think we might run into problems when we start running out of IPs.
That's my worry.
Specifically popular IPs that will sell, because one of two things will happen. They will stop doing Universes Beyond, or they're going to print things that are so mechanically busted that people buy it even if they don't give a shit about the IP.
Exactly.
And that is where my biggest fear is currently. We're going to start printing busted crap.
Well, only time's really going to tell.
Yep, that's the problem.
There's really no other way to...
We got to see how they're going to do this.
Yeah, but hopefully things go well. I'm hoping for good things with Avatar. I'm hoping for good things with Final Fantasy. But I think that's going to do it for this week, kiddos. Thanks so much for tuning in. We appreciate you guys coming in. Support the channel. Like us on... find us on YouTube. Subscribe, please. Find us on Spotify for the podcast. We have the audio version of the podcast up on Spotify right now. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, emotional outbursts, feel free to let us know in the comments. We would very much appreciate hearing from you and knowing what you guys think of our content. So that's going to be it for us.
And just remember, what flavor is water?
It's clear. The flavor.
It's clear flavor?
It is clear flavor.
That is not a satisfactory answer. In the comments, what flavor is water?
What flavor is water? Let's hear from you.
I hope you like these shower thoughts.
Y'all have
They're
a good
not
day.
stopping.